Hello, and welcome to the Release Ready on-demand webinar for Cornerstone CSX. My name is Amber Banks, and I am a Release Readiness Consultant here at Cornerstone. The purpose of this webinar is to take a close look at the release cycle and release processes for Cornerstone CSX. We believe the content presented here will be most helpful to newer admins who have only participated in one or two releases or are participating in a release for the first time. We hope that this session will be useful and help you gain some insights into the release cycle and the resources that we have available. For the first half of this webinar, we will spend some time going over the release process as a whole, the admin role in a typical release cycle, and the different types of release readiness resources that are available to assist you throughout the release cycle. During the second half, we will help you find these resources in online help and in the Success Center portal. This webinar is not a review of upcoming or recently released enhancements. Let's start things off by taking a moment to make sure everyone is aware of the goal of the Release Readiness team. We are here to promote adoption of new and enhanced features by communicating with you, our customers, during each release, and by providing resources to help you configure and roll out these new or enhanced features to your organization. In short, we are your partners throughout the release cycle. We are here to prepare you as best we can to help you get excited for what is new and understand what is changing so that you can identify any impacts to your organization's workflows and processes. We do this in a number of different ways throughout the release cycle. We have 3 release cycles during the year for Cornerstone CSX. Here is a look at the release schedule for 2023. Our release cycles begin with an announcement, followed by the start of user acceptance testing in stage, and end with the release into production environments. Before we look at a release cycle in more detail, let's first review our product release phases so that you know what to expect if you hear that a new product, enhancement, or redesign is being released first as an open beta or early adopter instead of being generally available with all of the bells and whistles ready to use upon its initial release. Closed beta, open beta, early adopter, and general availability are the release phases of our Cornerstone CSX products. A release phase represents the maturity level and availability of a new product offering, enhancement, or product redesign upon a release date. Many of our product enhancements are released with their full suite of intended functionality and are deemed to have met general availability with their initial release. However, there are occasions where it makes sense to release a project's enhancements incrementally. Usually, this will involve major redesigns or brand new product offerings. These projects involve more than one release cycle to reach maturity and may first be released in either a beta or early adopter phase. Now let's look at a typical release cycle in a bit more detail. Each release is a cycle that starts for customers 6 weeks prior to the actual release. The release cycle starts with the initial release announcement. At this time, we provide you with some resources in a dedicated release topic in the Success Center to help get you started with your release planning. Some of those resources are the first looks, the release summary, and release matrix. We will be taking a look at these and other resources later in this webinar. The weeks prior to user acceptance testing are a great time to use the available resources to help identify new features that interest you and enhancements that impact your organization. By doing so now at this stage of the release cycle, it can help you be better prepared to determine the time that may be needed for testing. You can create a test plan and also a potential production rollout strategy. 4 weeks prior to the release is when user acceptance testing, or UAT, starts. User acceptance testing is the time to test out the new features and enhancements that are coming out in the current release. During this time, the release is loaded into your stage environment and updated periodically so you can try out these new features firsthand. To help with this, release notes become available in online help. Starter guides and a list of known issues, which are located in that release topic in the Success Center that I had mentioned earlier, also become available. During this 4-week period, in addition to testing, release on-demand webinars will be made available so you can learn and see what's new directly from our product managers. An important thing to note about this 4-week user acceptance testing period is that during this time there is a blackout for copy downs. If you are considering a copy down to your stage environment, make sure to get it done prior to the start of user acceptance testing. If you are not familiar with copy downs, don't worry. We will review some copy down frequently asked questions in the next slide. Post-release, or really any time you need them, we also have tools available to help you transition new features and enhancements into your production environments. These tools come in the form of Adoption Kit playlists and Learn It Live sessions, which are all available in the Success Center. Now, let's take a couple of minutes to finish talking about copy downs. Copy downs are not part of the release cycle, but many customers choose to schedule a copy down from production to stage prior to the start of user acceptance testing, so it is important to review some of the copy down basics. What is a copy down? As a Cornerstone CSX customer, you have access to 3 separate portals in a top-to-bottom hierarchy. The portals are Production, Stage, and Pilot. Production is your live production system with real user data, learning materials, etc. Stage is where we release new functionality during the user acceptance testing period. And Pilot is a sandbox where you can experiment with new functionalities as you go through an implementation for a new product or as you decide how to configure something differently. A copy down will copy your production database down to your Stage or Pilot portal. When or if your organization chooses to get a copy down is entirely at your discretion. The overall reason to have a copy down is that you want to use accurate live data and production configurations in another portal as a starting point for testing. Most previous settings and configurations will be overwritten. It is important to understand exactly what this means prior to scheduling your copy down. To learn more about copy downs and their impact to your Stage and Pilot environments, visit Support Central and search for the knowledge article titled, "What is a Copy Down?" The Cornerstone CSX release calendar displays important milestone release dates for CSX and is a helpful resource to have handy. Many customers find it helpful to print this calendar to refer to throughout the year. I take the time every year to add these dates to my online calendar. The release calendar is published annually and is available in the Success Center. You can find the release calendar in the Release Calendar widget on the Release Hub or by searching for it in Global Search. The release calendar is color coordinated as follows. The dates in light blue are when the release cycle begins. This is the formal release announcement. The release topic opens in the Success Center, and first looks, the summary, and release matrix are all available. This is the time to start planning for the upcoming release. The dates in black indicate the start of user acceptance testing in stage environments. This is the time to test out the new features and to participate in release webinars and prepare for the upcoming release into production environments. The dates in dark blue are the release deployments. This occurs in all environments. Dates in gold are patch deployments. These are code deployments that occur 1 to 2 times a month. These are primarily for code fixes, but you may see release features deployed in patches if they were not ready to be deployed at the time of release. Information regarding release and patch deployment times and a link to the downtime schedule are located at the bottom of the calendar and may sometimes be overlooked by customers. This is important information to know, so be sure to review this information and familiarize yourself with the downtimes. During these deployments, you may find your portal to be temporarily unavailable or processing more slowly. Please take this into consideration and set expectations accordingly. Customers may find it wise to consider the release deployment when scheduling important training due dates and task deadlines, such as for compensation or performance reviews, if you have these products in use in your portal. Before we move on to your role in the release process, let's take a minute to review release calendar and downtime tips. Print the calendar or add the dates to your online calendar. Don't schedule tasks or initiatives during release deployments. User acceptance testing is the 4-week period to test new functionality. Optionally schedule a copy down to stage before or after user acceptance testing. Now, let's move on to your role in the release readiness process. The release readiness process is a partnership between Cornerstone and you, the customer. On the Cornerstone side of the baton, we prepare and train internally for these enhancements to make the quarterly releases as beneficial as possible for our customers. Release materials are prepared and environments are readied so that we may pass the baton on to you, our customer, during user acceptance testing. Once the baton is passed, it is time for customers to get familiar with the new features and enhancements, and to decide which new features to adopt and plan for enhancements to existing processes. Even after the baton is passed, we are still here for you via our documentation, our playlists, and our release webinars, as well as chats in the release community. Before we dive into the release resources that are available, I'd like to spend some time walking you through a few different admin profiles. Keep in mind that these are just sample profiles and you should not feel like you must categorize yourself in only one profile. You could very well find yourself fitting into aspects of all 3 profiles. Let's start with Bill. Bill wears many hats at his company, and administering Cornerstone CSX is just one of many systems he's overseeing. When a release is announced, he's looking for a quick overview to know if there are breaking changes that will immediately impact his company's users. He downloads the first looks to get an idea of the feature's intentions, watches the release on-demand webinar for learning, and he clarifies any questions he has via a chat in the release community. Of course, he also spends time in his stage environment to gain some hands-on experience with the new features that are impactful to his organization. Now let's take a look at Erica. She spends most of her time working with Cornerstone and is responsible for supporting multiple stakeholders across 3 different products. When the release is announced, she downloads the release matrix, filters by the products her company has purchased, and schedules a stakeholders meeting to review Cornerstone's new features, including what to test, what to adopt, and the rollout schedule for anything they'll need to configure themselves. Erica is also interested in possibly testing the early adopter projects, so she pulls in a subject matter expert to assess whether the early adopter iteration of the projects for this release will work or if they should wait for a future release to adopt. Finally, Julie works at a highly regulated company that must perform regression testing on every enhancement. Since her company has purchased every CSX product, this is a large project that spans the entire 6-week release cycle. She schedules a governance meeting the day after the release is announced and assigns each team member the projects they will need to test. Prior to testing, they are required to go through the release notes to fully understand the feature's intended behaviors. During user acceptance testing, they are responsible for testing each feature, documenting the results, and creating a case with customer support if a possible defect is discovered. Julie monitors the user acceptance testing known issues closely to be aware of possible issues and when they will be fixed. As you can see, each profile may use different release resources to meet their organization's needs, and all profiles take advantage of that 4-week user acceptance testing period to test and stage. We don't want you to feel overwhelmed with the number of resources. Instead, we want you to understand their intention so you can select the ones that will meet your needs. Let's now take a look at each one in more detail. As we learned earlier, Cornerstone publishes different release readiness resources at different points during the release lifecycle to help with release preparation, testing, and adoption. At 6 weeks, to help you prepare for the release summary, release matrix, and first looks will be available in the release topic located in the Success Center. An email will always be sent at the start of the release cycle to serve as a reminder and help kick it off. Four weeks out is when you will find starter guides, release notes, and on-demand webinars to help you learn and test. A user acceptance testing known issues list will also be made available. All of these resources are located in the Success Center. Release notes are also accessible from within online help in your own portal as well. Lastly, in the Adopt stage, we have additional sessions in the Success Center for you to join and additional resources for you to take a look at. Now let's review each of these release resources to understand their purpose. The release summary is a PDF document that gives you an overview of everything that is scheduled for the release, It provides a brief description of each new feature and enhancement along with the enablement information and availability dates. The release summary is organized by product solution and comes with a clickable table of contents. The release summary is updated weekly throughout the release cycle on Wednesdays. As features may be added, removed, or updated, you will find the latest information reflected in the weekly updates to the summary. Updated information will be in bold colored text in the project description to help make it easy to identify. The release matrix is an unlocked Excel spreadsheet which can be used for tracking progress, testing, and adoption. The Release Matrix tab in the spreadsheet contains the new features and enhancements. You will probably refer to the Release Matrix tab the most. We see a lot of our customers using the Release Matrix to help them with their user acceptance testing because it can be filtered to only show the products that impact their organization. Columns in the spreadsheet make it easy to see and filter on which enhancements have been recently added or updated, availability dates for environment, and which items are auto-enabled, and more. Plus, the spreadsheet format lets you add on extra columns at the end for your own notes. The release matrix is updated weekly at the same time as the release summary. To easily identify updated content, use the Updates tab and also look for the bold colored text in the release matrix itself. If you need clarity on the field values, then click on the Field Definitions and Dates tab. If you are looking for more release resources, you can go to the Additional Resources tab. And finally, if you want additional details on a project, check out the release summary and release notes. The first look slide deck includes some of the features and enhancements that will become available with the release. This is not a full look at each and every feature, but it will include highlights for each product solution. Here are where you will see what a new feature or enhancement may look like, along with general information pertaining to permissions and enablement. It is important to note that first looks are intended to be a very high-level glimpse into what you may look forward to with the release, and the actual functionality that is delivered may differ from what is previewed here in first looks. Starter guides are always available in the Success Center to help customers familiarize themselves with key Cornerstone CSX functionality. 4 weeks before the release, Cornerstone updates starter guides to incorporate the latest release enhancements, and you may find new starter guides available too. Starter guides are not created for every release item. They are an overview of some of the more impactful product features and tools, such as reporting. Starter guides walk you through step-by-step configuration and end-user workflows. These guides can be used to help implement a new feature or better understand how it works. Sometimes we will have brand new starter guides available with a release, but most often we will update existing starter guides with new release functionality. The What's New with the Release section lists the updates to the guide for the current release. Release Readiness product recordings are available as on-demand webinars. These webinars are also available 4 weeks prior to the release for you to review at your convenience. In these recorded videos, our product managers present an overview of the new features and enhancements available with the release. Their goal is to provide insights into the purpose of the features and assist you as you test and roll out the features in your organization. Release notes are available at the start of user acceptance testing and are conveniently located in online help for easy access while you test new features in stage. Release notes are an in-depth look into each and every enhancement and are updated at various points throughout the release cycle. When perusing release notes in online help, you will have various resources at your disposal. What's new is a clickable digest of all release features by product solution in alphabetical order. There are also printable release notes available in document format for easy printing. You can also find lists of new and enhanced permissions and reporting fields, along with a section that contains a synopsis of all updates made to release notes since they were originally published. Lastly, each enhancement can also be found housed in a folder by product solution. All of these options make it easy to find and consume release information in a way that makes sense to you. The UAT Known Issues list is available after we kick off user acceptance testing and will be updated throughout user acceptance testing after each deployment to stage. This is a spreadsheet of customer impacting defects identified during user acceptance testing. The goal of the UAT Known Issues list is to make you aware of issues in stage that Cornerstone is aware of that may impact your testing of new release features and enhancements and where we are in terms of addressing or resolving that issue. During your release testing, if you encounter behavior that you believe may be a defect, such as an error or something not working as indicated in the release communications, be sure to check here first. Adoption kits and Learn It Live sessions are available resources in the Success Center. They are not necessarily tied to releases, but are updated as needed with every release to incorporate new or enhanced functionality. Adoption kits are playlists that contain carefully crafted sets of resources to guide you through the planning, configuration, and enablement of major new features to help support optimal adoption from stakeholders. They can be a great resource to help various stakeholders within your organizations to see the benefit of adopting a specific feature or tool and utilizing it for your organization. Learn It Live sessions are virtual training sessions hosted by Cornerstone's certified product experts. These sessions are geared toward administrators and take you step by step through a particular piece of functionality, such as reporting, to help you learn the basics and set you up for success. Let's move on to the release community in the Success Center. I have just shared all of the different types of release resources available to use, and throughout this presentation, it has been mentioned that all of these are available in the release topic, sometimes referred to as the release community in the Success Center. At this time, I would like to talk briefly about the release community because it can also be considered a release resource. What you are seeing right now is the Success Center welcome page on the left and the landing page or release hub for our release readiness community is on the right. The resources that we have discussed can be quickly accessed from this landing page, which is great for those occasions when you know exactly which resource you need. If you are new to releases here at Cornerstone, or just feel like you could use a little extra guidance, I highly recommend starting with Become Release Ready and Plan Your Strategy, located at the top left of the page. Become Release Ready takes you to a playlist of resources to help you get familiar with the Cornerstone CSX release process. Plan Your Strategy guides you through the current release and takes the guesswork out of deciding which resources to review first. At the start of each release, Cornerstone updates the release landing page in the Success Center and also creates a topic that is unique for each release. Join the Conversation takes you to the topic for the currently active release cycle. Here, in this release community, open dialogue and conversations between customers, members of the release readiness team, and our product managers regarding the current release is encouraged and ongoing throughout the release cycle. Not only is the community a central access point for all of the resources that we have been talking about, it can also be your first place to ask questions before submitting a case. Or you can peruse existing conversations to see if your question has already been asked and answered. Product subtopics are available for customers to post questions about the release and share their experiences. We also have a current release resources playlist. This is an ongoing playlist used with every release. This playlist will always have resources for the active release cycle. Here, you will find the most recent release readiness resources, including the release summary, features at a glance matrix, on-demand webinars, and more. Click Follow in the playlist to receive notifications when resources are added. Before we transition over to the Success Center, let's take a moment to review some release-ready tips. First, save the release calendar so you are familiar with key release dates for the current year. If you are new to releases, start by reviewing the Release Ready playlist to get familiar with the release process as a whole. Then visit the Getting Started and Program Overview post for the current release to get a 3-step cheat sheet for managing the current release cycle. Use the 2 weeks prior to user acceptance testing to prepare for the upcoming release. Review the release summary and use the release matrix to create a test plan and production rollout strategy. Use all 4 weeks of user acceptance testing to learn and test in your stage environment and ask questions in the release community. Follow the current release resources playlist to be informed whenever new resources are added. We are now ready to move over to the Success Center for a tour of the release community. All of the release readiness resources that we have reviewed can be found in the Success Center. The Success Center is Cornerstone's customer portal for CSX, and the URL is client.csod.com. In fact, you had to log into the Success Center to watch this webinar. What we are looking at right now is the welcome page. See What's New is the easiest place to access release-related information. It takes you directly to that release landing page that I had mentioned earlier. Side panel navigation is also available for those who prefer it. The release landing page itself, or Release Hub, has many of the commonly used resources available for easy one-click access. This page is updated each release and is great when you know exactly which resource you need. We will be clicking into some of these widgets during our session today to get you familiar with what is available. If you are newer to releases and not sure of which resources you need or which resources to start with, then start here at the top left with Become Release Ready and Plan Your Strategy. These are wonderful resources to get you started if you are new to releases here at Cornerstone. Join the Conversation takes you to our release community for the current release. This is where you go to ask questions or share feedback about the current release, which is especially helpful during user acceptance testing. Now let's take a look at each of these widgets in more detail. Become Release Ready takes you to a playlist of resources to strategize your approach and prepare for our quarterly releases. Included in this playlist are videos from some of our customers with their tips for managing releases here at Cornerstone. And this is where you can find those videos right here. You can follow the playlist to be notified when updates are made. Plan Your Strategy will guide you through getting started and takes you through a typical release cycle in steps. Also, if you are not doing this already, I highly recommend reviewing the tips at the bottom to sign up for our daily and weekly digests of release community posts. Following the release community, release playlist, and summary post are simple ways to stay up to date on the latest release information. Join the Conversation is the place to go to chat with others about the current release and to easily access all of the release resources relevant to the current release from one central location. Product subfolders are available to ask questions throughout the release cycle about the features being released. If you are not understanding how an enhancement is supposed to work, have questions about your testing and stage, or anything else, ask here. Questions asked and answered here in the product subfolders have the potential to be viewed by and benefit many customers. It's a great place to interact with other customers, our product managers, and the Release Ready team. To make it easy to search through existing conversations, you can click Filter by Tags and click a tag to find conversations relevant for that tag. We keep each post updated with relevant tags to make it easier to find what you need. Underneath our subfolders are all of the release resources for the current release, so you can use this community as an easy way to stay on top of all things release related from one location. Getting Started in Program Overview is the post that we reviewed when we clicked the Plan Your Strategy widget. Release Resources and Playlist is the link that you click to access the current Release Resources playlist. The Release Resources playlist is an easy way to access resources for the current release from a single location. The playlist is updated each release, and if you follow it, you can access it at any time from the side navigation panel by clicking My Learning, My Playlists, and Followed. The most commonly used release resources are directly accessible from inside the playlist. Those that aren't can be accessed from the Release Hub. The Release Hub is what we have been using as our jumping off point during this tour of the release resources in the Success Center. While we are here inside the playlist, let's take a look at First Looks. First looks are slide decks that provide a visual representation of select enhancements along with key dates for the release cycle. Each first look slide deck contains the release schedule, key dates, a release resource delivery schedule, and selected enhancements, which we see represented here in the table of contents slide. Also, a reminder of auto upgrades and upcoming deprecations are included. Now remember, first looks are a high-level overview, and the images in these decks are for preview purposes only and may not be the finalized design upon release. Jumping back into the playlist, we also have videos of product manager-led on-demand webinars. These webinars are for the current release cycle and include presentations by our product managers of some of our more impactful enhancements. In the learning details for each of these videos, you will find an agenda and a video timestamp of all of the enhancements that are included in the on-demand webinar. The release summary, release matrix, release notes, and other resources are also included in the playlist for easy access. We will take a look at these resources in just a few minutes. Before we exit the playlist and return to the release community, I wanted to make sure you notice that we also have a link to access the current release language pack post. Customers can use the spreadsheet in this post to view updated translations for the language packs installed in their portal. Now let's pick up where we left off in the release community. Most people, including myself, access release notes from within their own portal using online help. However, you can also access them here in the release community. This page includes the dates that the release notes are targeted to be updated for the current release. So while we are here, let's quickly review release notes. So if you are in the post, you can click this link to access release notes. Or if you want to access them from within online help, you can just click the navigation menu and click help, and you will find release notes at the very top of the left panel menu in online help. Now, release notes are made up of several individual components to help you find exactly what you are looking for. What's new is a table of contents and digests rolled up in one. Access What's New to browse all enhancements and use links to drill down into the ones that you would like to view in more detail. Printable release notes are also available and useful for reviewing and adding your own handwritten notes. We also have separate sections to view lists of new and enhanced permissions, along with new reporting fields. As I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, release note updates are also scheduled, and a summary of which can be found here as updates are made. If any enhancements are delivered in a patch, you will find them listed here under a separate patch section for each specific patch date. Finally, release notes can also be found under a separate section accessed by product solution. For example, you can click Core General to see those planned enhancements. Each link is a release note with details for that particular enhancement. Now let's take a look at the release summary and the release matrix. When accessing the summary and matrix, you can see the weekly update schedule here. Weekly updates are summarized in the comments below for a quick and easy review. Now let's take a look at the release summary. The summary has a clickable table of contents and contains every enhancement and release announcement targeted for the release, including quick access to other supporting documentation. But it is not as detailed as the release notes. Now let's take a look at the release matrix. The matrix also contains every enhancement and announcement, along with additional columns for easy filtering. As an example, during user acceptance testing, you could filter by the product solutions your organization uses, along with the date updated, and you can see if there are any recent changes that could impact your organization or your user acceptance testing. In this example, the bold text in the release matrix indicates recently updated text. The Updates tab contains a description of updates grouped by date. Now, moving on to starter guides. All of the starter guides that have been updated for the current release are listed here in one location for easy access. Starter guides will walk you through the configuration, steps, and user workflows for some of our bigger initiatives or more technical features. Starter guides contain a clickable table of contents for each section in the guide, and there are images throughout the guide as an additional visual aid to guide your learning. Updated starter guides also contain a What's New section for the current release. Now, we have a few more resources in the release community that are dedicated to UAT support. So let's quickly review these helpful UAT resources located at the bottom of the release community page. UAT Known Issues is a spreadsheet that contains a list of issues reported during user acceptance testing that Cornerstone is currently looking into, along with any progress that we have made to resolve the issue. We also have a UAT feature availability post. If a release enhancement is not available during UAT, you will find it listed here. We update this list as often as needed throughout user acceptance testing. Preparing for UAT is also accessible in the Getting Started and Program Overview post that we took a look at earlier. Everything that you need to know about user acceptance testing can be found here. This is a great resource for customers that are new to our release process. Let's return to the Release Hub. So far, we have reviewed the 2 widgets for new admins, Become Release Ready and Plan Your Strategy, and Join the Conversation, which is the widget all admins can use to access the current release community. Let's continue where we left off, which is at the timeline. The timeline can be used to quickly see key dates for the year. The orange circle lets you know what's coming up next. As I mentioned earlier, if you know what resource you want to access, it can be clicked from here on the Release Hub landing page. The Release Resources playlist, Starter Guides, and Release Notes, which we reviewed earlier, can also be accessed from widgets in the Release Hub. We will skip these widgets since these resources have already been covered. Click Upcoming Deprecations to stay up to date on all of our upcoming auto upgrades and product deprecations. Here, you can see lists of features to be auto upgraded or deprecated, along with the target dates and any helpful resources that we have to help learn more and prepare. We have already reviewed UAT known issues, so let's move on to patches. Any release functionality delivered in a patch will be listed here. Click the Patch Code Fixes link to see the traditional patch note code fixes. Release announcements are located in the middle of the Release Hub page. Release announcements will contain links to the items that are worthy of a closer look. This section is usually updated quarterly. Under the Release Announcements, we have our last 3 widgets. Clicking the Release Calendar link will take you to the Release Calendar topic where you can find the release calendar for the current year. So be sure to click it and print it. View the progress of major initiatives in our Roadmap playlist. Our roadmap is updated quarterly after each release and is intended as only a high-level summary of the major initiatives planned for the next 12 to 18 months. Both the roadmap itself and a video of the highlights can be found in the roadmap playlist. And finally, our final widget is past releases, and this is a backdoor to get to older release topics. This wraps up our Cornerstone CSX Release Ready review. I hope you found something new and useful to help your organization get the most out of Cornerstone's CSX releases.